Hey there, how there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond walking you to yet another Stone Cold Hockey 1967-68 stuff about the St. Louis Blues, trying to see if I could take the first ever expansion team to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, back to the Stanley Cup Finals by way of the 67-68 season. As you can see, we're not doing so hot. We're at 49 points. Pittsburgh and Philly are putting Pennsylvania on the map. Minnesota's third. We're fourth, 49. We're only 2 points ahead of LA, but way ahead of Oakland. Whereas Montreal has 72, Boston has 71, Toronto and the Rangers are fighting it up. It looks like we know the four teams in the East. Made up of all the original six teams in the West, made up of all the expansion teams. Right now, Stan Mikita and Bobby Hull are having their own goals fest, even though Chicago has only won 18 games. Our boy Melnick's 10 for 23. Third place is Phil Esposito, who Chicago dumped off because he was so lazy, supposedly. Assist wise, Gordie Howe number one, Bobby Russo number two, Roger Bear number three. Our best assist guy is not even there. Points wise, Stan Mikita leads the points race with Gordie Howe and Phil Esposito trailing behind him, and no blue in the top 30. Penalty minutes, we are number one. Barclay Plager number one. Picard's dropped to fifth as Ted Green, Edvin, and Bedon Ulrich are starting to pick up the pace. Doug Favell is your goals against leader. First, Rocky Vachon second, Gump Borsley third. Those Montreal goalies. Seth Martin's ninth in goals against. Glenn Hall is 11th. Standings wise, we've played 53 games. We played the fewest in the NHL. 56 is the most, so that's good news against Los Angeles. We do have a bit of an advantage for Minnesota points percentage wise. We've only scored 126 goals. That is fourth in the division and all that. LA scored 149 goals, but they've given up 169 goals, where we've only given up 140. Second best in division. Montreal, Boston, Toronto, and the Rangers have given up fewer than us. So we're like sixth. And goes against 15-9-4 at home, but on the road we're disastrous. 5 road wins. We're tied with the fewest by Chicago, Philly. Yeah, Chicago and Philly. Even Oakland has more road wins than we do. They have 6. As for us, we have played 53 of our scheduled 74 games, so we have 21 games left. Stats wise, Glenn Hall 11, 13, 5, Seth Martin 8, 9, and 3, Don Cadley 1, 2, and 1, Jerry Melnick 36 points, Brad Berenson 32, and Frank Marcel 28 points. Trying to get our butts in here. We beat Minnesota by 6 goals one time, and then we got beaten by 6 goals. All that. Montreal's worst loss was 3 goals. Best wins, everyone's had like a 5-goal win, except for Pittsburgh. Even Oakland, they won a 5-0 game, so Pittsburgh hasn't had a 5-goal win. 19 hat tricks and all that. Melnick, but then Espo, Tommy Williams, Phil, Bob Nevin, and Chills Tremblay. We've had Ecclestone with a hat trick against Boston, Melnick against Minnesota, but we've been victimized twice as Roger Bear and Cowboy Flight have done it to us. The number one star game is Boston Chicago from October 18th, when Boston was down 3-0 to the Hawks and won. Boston's 6-3 win over Oakland on Christmas Day, 1967, when they didn't have a 3-0 was third, and Chicago's deficit to Oakland November 1967 his third. Our first game is against LA. We are playing Pittsburgh, our first game of the month of the video, and it's going to be Seth Martin versus Hank Basson. So we face our backup Basson. Les Binkley also in that. We have Seth Martin our backup. Glenn Hall and Don Kelly, our goalies. They have Ab McDonald playing Andy Bathgate, the former Ranger and Leaf icon, Junior Braco, Art Stratton, Billy D, Earl Inglefield, Ken Schenko, Keith McCreary, Paul Andrea, Leo Bolan, Bob Dillable, George Connick, Val Fontaine, known as Mr. Clean, Noel Price, Bobby Rivard, Bill Spear, Al McNeil, R.I.P., Dick Matusi, Doug McCollum, Mel Pearson, and Ted Lennon. We do. We have Red Berenson, Frank St. Messiah, Jerry Melnick, Jimmy Roberts, not the commentator guy, Bill McCreary, not the referee, that's his uncle. No, the hockey player McCreary is the referee's uncle. Gary Sabarin, Larry Keenan, Terry Crisp, who would win Stanley Cups as a player with the Flyers and as a coach for the Flames. Don McKenney, known for that move when he was traded from the Rangers to the Leafs alongside Andy Bathgate, Ronnie Schock, who came to the Blues and had that double overtime goal against Minnesota in real life, send the Blues to the Stanley Cup Finals. Craig Cameron, Tim Ecclestone, Barclay Plager, Bob Plager, Dickie Moore, the former Leafs and half stand-up, Wayne Rivers, Fred Huckle, the Picards, Roger Noel, as Noel Picard, the guy who tripped up Bobby Orr in 1970 Stanley Cup Finals. Al Arbor, defenseman with glasses, Neil Baudin, and Ray Fortin. 2 minutes into the game. Hit Boivin. Do we have a chance? Crisp. Aye. Craig Cameron. 5 minutes later. We get hit hard, and it's Plager. I don't know which one, but it's like yo, top power play goal. Art scored. Art batting 14 from Chinko and Boivin. 3 minutes. Oh, yes, you are. Okay, Conic. Now we have a chance. Berenson and Picard can't do anything about it. Oh, man. Yeah. But man, can you believe Pittsburgh? Fuck. Fuck is right. We're down 3-0. And we lose -1 attack. We're killing the clock. But we scored! Larry Contrary. His key, 6th goal from Ecclestone and McKenny makes it 3-1. There's a fight. Robert says, I gotta fight someone, and he fights McCreary. And it works. Skill! Larry Keenan! Larry Contrary, his 2nd goal of the game, 7th from Melnick and Picard. No, Picard makes it 3-2. Yeah, Jimmy Roberts and Keith McCreary. A few minutes later, chance for Conic. No. And just like that, Larry Keenan has got us back in the game. It's 3-2. Can we do it? Crisp. Ooh. It's for Schenkel. What a stop by Seth Martin on Schenkel. They have another chance. At McDonald, no. 5 minutes later, a chance by Sabrin, but stopped by Basson. Sabrin had a chance for the comeback. Spear for 2 minutes. Not for a spear. Gretzky, or power play goal. Timmy Ecclestone. His 9th from Crispin Berenson makes it 3-3. Oh my gosh. Last chance. And that's the game. And unfortunately, that is the end of the game. So what a comeback. We come back from 3-0 down, tie Pittsburgh. I hate to break it to you, but there's no overtime. This was the period in the NHL between 1942 and 1983 that there was no regular season overtime. Playoffs, of course, had overtime, but no regular season overtime. So we just wasted our efforts. But hey, Pittsburgh didn't have that too much of a shot. I think they just lost their way. We did it. Keenan with 2, Ecclestone, the hero, with a goal and assist. 3-3 tie. I can't believe we did it. Thanks to Ecclestone's power play goal, we tied the game. That's the good news. The bad news is the rules are that if we lose or tie, then I can't do the next game. Then the next game has to be simulated, so we can't play in Minnesota. Chicago, Detroit. Chicago wins 5-4 as Duchesne beats Crozier. Pete Mahavlich finally getting some goals. He got 2. Paul Henderson and Apprentice, the other ones. Chicago goals by Makita, Warren, Stapleton, Martin, and Nestorenko. Minnesota beat us 3-1. Marseille did score. Martin loses to Manico, but Ray Cullen, Andre Boudreau, and JP Perez scored. And yes, Bill Masterton is active. I know what you're going to say. It's like, he's not active. Well, technically he is. Masterton is still active. So anyway, Pittsburgh, Montreal. These Pittsburgh go to Montreal, win 4-1. Boston beats Vachon. Price for Little Price and Ralph Baxter scoring in the second period, but Pittsburgh, Schenkel, Inkelfield, and Schenkel scoring, and they remember to take a 3-goal lead and keep it. Oakland shocks Boston 2-1. Hodge beats Cheevers. Sanderson did score for Boston, but Caron and Larry Popain, cocaine. Rangers Toronto on Saturday night, a tie, 1-1. Jackman Bauer with points. Armstrong for Toronto, Hatfield for the Rangers. Sunday night, Detroit at Chicago, 2-2 tie. Crozier and DeShorty tie. Makita and Hall scoring. Peters and Jarrett for Detroit. Booston wins 3-2 in LA. Cheevers beats Rutledge. Boston goes by Doak, Craig, and Sanderson. Cowboy Flat and Low McDonald for LA. Rangers win 4-1 against the Flyers. Jackman beats Parent. LaForge will go for Philly. Goyette, Marshall, Goyette for the Rangers. Wednesday the 21st, we are in Toronto, but because we lost, we can't do the game in Toronto. Boston beats Minnesota 4-2. Cheevers beats Manico. Stanfield, Espo, McKenzie, and Sanderson scoring for Boston. Bowlen and Parker for Minnesota. Montreal Rangers tied 2-2. Vachon and Jackman with the points. Backstrom and Russo scoring power play goals in the first and then third period. Howell and Fleming with power play goals. Our power play goals. Chicago and Oakland tied 2-2. Norris and Hodge with the tie. Jack Norris, remember him? Pitt Martin and Warren made it 2-0, but Bill Hick 2 goals in the third. Out of Pennsylvania, Philly won 3-2. With that win, Philly's now 19-19-19. So they have the same amount of wins, losses, and ties. Baval beats Binkley, Sutherland, Hannigan, and Rochefort scoring, and then Andrea and Stratton doing that. St. Louis and Toronto, we have to simulate, and we get our ass whipped 5-2 as Glenn Hall couldn't do it against Gamble. Sabrin his 10th, Ecclestone his 10th, but Toronto scored Armstrong, Pappen, Pulford, Brian Conacher, and Stamkowski. So we go to Montreal, and we have to simulate. Boston wins 4-1. Cheevers beats Crozier. Detroit go by Kent Douglas. Westfall, Pye, McKenzie, Stanfield, and Espo with the goals for Boston. Go to Montreal and tie. Hall Worsley tie. Our goals, Melnick his 24th, Boldan his second, and Ecclestone his 11th. But Jay-Z Tremblay, Gilles Tremblay, and Jean Beliveau did it. A tie means nothing. Philly will beat Minnesota 3-2 as Faval beats Bauman. 2 goals by Watson, 1 by Hannigan, Ballin, and Parker for Minnesota. Friday no game. Saturday we have to take the day off. Minnesota Detroit. Minnesota crushes at 4-1. Manico beats Edwards. As Parker, Parise, Connolly, and Bill Collins scoring for Minnesota. Gordie Howe for Detroit. LA crushes Chicago 6-1. DeShorty losing to Rutledge. Chicago's goal by Bobby Hall is 43rd, but Brian Smith, Menard, Cowboy Fled is 30th. Cowboy Fled. Menard is 10th, then Wall, and then Fled his second of the night. Rangers Montreal sees a tie. Jackman and Vachon. Rangers are up 3-1. Goyette with 2, then Boom Boom Jeffron in Montreal of all games, and then Bob Nevin scoring. Montreal goals by John Ferguson, Yvan Cournoyer, and Claude Provo. Oakland at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh with a shutout. Basson doing his job. Bathgate, Ubrico, Strading, and Chronic. And Toronto beats Boston. Bauer beats Cheevers. Carlton, Walton, and George Armstrong with the goals. Boston goes by Shaq and Tommy Williams. Sunday we go to LA. Of course, we can't play this game because you know why. And we lose 3-1 as Rutledge beats Hall. Berenson did score his 18th, which is good, but Kings 3 goals. 2 by Ray Lemieux, 1 by Brian Kilray. You'll remember him from junior hockey. Oakland and Minnesota tie 0-0. Toronto gets their butts handed them by the Rangers 5-3. Ballard, Lester Jacqueline. Toronto goes by Carlton, Walton, and Oliver. Ranger goes by Goyette, Nevin, Gilbert, Ron Stewart, our former Kings Blue, and Kurtenbach. Battle Pennsylvania 2-2 tie as Binkley and Favel do it. Pittsburgh goes by Ubrico and Connick, Rochefort, and Ngati. 27th, Boston goes to Pittsburgh and wins 3-1. Johnston beats Binkley. I'm McDonald for Pitt, but Stanfield, Espo, and Busick for Boston. The 28th, we host Montreal, but we can't do that game because we have a loss. Arizona Oakland tied 3-3. Manico and Hodge with the stuff. Goals by Connolly, Moose Vasco, and Ballon. Oakland goal by Swarbrick, Hick, and Brenneman. I think Bill Goldsworthy doesn't have any points afterwards. Montreal beat us 3-2. Fashionably Hall. Melnick his 25th, Roberts his 10th, but Montreal goals by Tremblay his 19th, Jill Tremblay his 19th, and 2 by the Roadrunner. Toronto crushes Chicago 6-2. Bauer beats Norris. Bobby Hall is 44th. Dennis Hall is 15th. Toronto goals by Walton. Frank Mahovich is 18th. Oliver Ellis with a natural hat trick for 29. I told you it was good close word. There are games on February 29th because it is a Summer Olympics year, 1968. Toronto Boston tied at 3. Rangers beat Detroit 3-2, and LA with a 1-0 win. The only goal by terrible Ted Irvin from Rail Lemieux and Dale Rolfe, which means Phillies 20-20-20. See? We still can't win. We have to beat Chicago. Montreal goes to Minnesota, win 4-2. Rangers 1-0 over Philly. Simmons beats Perrant. Reg Fleming, the only goal. Oakland, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh won 4-1. Smith loses to Binkley. Oakland go by Lawton, but Ab McDonald, Dillabo, Ingerfield, and Bobby D with the goals. We need to beat Chicago. We do. 4-0. Shut up by Seth Martin. St. Marcel, Melnick, Don McKinney, and Melnick with the goals, so we can actually play the next game. LA Toronto. Toronto wins 3-1. That's Gamble beat Redledge. Protovo, Armstrong, and Carlton with the goals. Ted Irvin scores for LA. March the 2nd. Well, I can kind of guess who will not be in Toronto. Toronto, Detroit. Well, we play in Boston. So Pitt, Boston. Montreal, Detroit sees Detroit win 6-2. Oh, the trade hasn't been done yet because Paul Henderson's still on the roster. Montreal goes by Ferguson and Harper. Jarrett, Paul Henderson, Prentice, Ullman, Smith, and Normie Ullman scoring for Detroit. Chicago Rangers. Rangers win 4-2. Simmons beats the Shorty. Chicago goes by Nesterenko and Moans. Howell, Kurtenbach, Rotel, and Gilbert for the Rangers. And Oakland and Philly tie 2-2. Hodge and Parent. Oakland goes by Burns and Boyett. Dornhofer and Johnson. So that means Philly will probably win their next game to go 21-21-21. We go to Boston. And we will see Eddie Johnston while we put Glenn Hall in the nets. Phil Esposito, the former Blackhawk who got traded to Boston because he was perceived to be lazy. Massive one-sided deal. In the end, Johnny the Chief Music, their captain. John Pye McKenzie. Ken Hodge Sr., his son Ken Jr. had a 30-goal season, but fucked up everything. Derek Sanderson was spending money left, right, and center, and then he got himself so much in debt he was sleeping on a park bench before Bobby Orr, among others, saved his butt. Eddie the Entertainer Shack, here comes Shack. Freddie Stanfield, not the politician from Canada, that's Robert Stanfield. Tommy Williams, a rarity American in the NHL at the time, 1968. Eddie Westfall, who would later become an original Islander. Bobby Orr. Do I need to say more? Glenn Saver, yeah, that guy, Ranger fans will cringe. Ted Green, the guy who 2 years later would be missing the 69-70 season because of his preseason stick skirmish with Wayne Mackey. Skip Craig, Dallas Smith, Don Olery, Gary Durr, Russ Lonsberry, a young Wayne Cashman, John Arbor, Ron Murphy, and Barry Gibbs, not part of the Bee Gees. 2 minutes later. I don't think it's a penalty. Why not? His 33rd from Pye McKenzie and Dallas Smith. Despacito. 5 minutes later, a battle in aggression. And yeah, we get another penalty. Plager. Damn it. First ball can't do it. Well, Glenn Saver. Fuck that guy. Well, we suck. Action. Skiers. Look out, Snoopy. Here comes the Red Baron. Brett Berenson. His 19 from Keenan and Ecclestone. 2-1. 6 minutes later. Boston goes to the Bucks. It will be Gary Doak. Can we take revenge? Yes, we do. Skier. Pop-up power play goal. Da 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 da. Saint Marcel has 11 from Berenson and Sabrin. We're tied. Not about period. I thought we were gonna get our asses whipped, but no, Melnick. 2 minutes later, Boston Ted Green stopped by Groen Hall. 3 minutes later, number 4, Bob Miller. That's the score for the year from Ivy Kennedy. Come on, he's got to score more. St. Louis, we got another jet skier. Ecclestone. His 12 from St. Marcel and Keenan. We're tied at 3. 3 minutes later. Keenan Stick. Stopped by Johnston. 3 minutes later. Yay, we got a penalty. It's Dallas Smith to the box. Trying to take advantage. Jimmy Roberts. Aye. Melnick. You fight. It is Plager and Westfall. So we got one of their defenders. They got one of ours. Johnny Houston. 30th. The Chiefs was just 30th. Orange and I guess we kind of deserve it. Woman gave 7 goals in 2 periods. Boston's winning. Bad. Derek Sanderson can't do anything about it. Pelly's already. McKenzie. 4 minutes later. Chance for, well, Glenn Hall was out for Don Cayley. We're going to lose 5-3. We might as well put Cayley in the net. Boston takes up a call. Doak. Killing the clock. And they'll kill the zone. Out of zone. Hey, fuck you. So bad. Mama. So yeah, 6-3, Hall got this by handed to him. St. Louis goals by Red Baron, Marcel, and Ecclestone. Boston goals. Espels, Saver, or Busick, Stanfield, McKenzie. 6 different guys. How many points did Pie McKenzie have? He had 3 assists, so a goal and 3 assists. Pie. So, you know what that means. The next game we have to simulate. Montreal, LA. Montreal crushes it 5-2. Worsley beats Sawchuk. Montreal goes by Cornway, Harris, Urban. Urban fled for LA. Cornway, Harris, Lemaire, Cornway, and Purdy. Wednesday. Pittsburgh. Boston wins 5-3. Rangers with a shutout. Jackman over Edwards. Crudenbeck and Nevin. Montreal, Oakland. Montreal with a shutout. Worsley beats Smith. LaPerriere, Henri Richard, Rousseau, and Backstrom with the goals. We will tie Pittsburgh 0-0. Fuck. Philly. I swear if they win. No, they didn't. 3-1 Toronto. Bauer beats Perron. Pulford, Keon, and Armstrong with the goals. And Don Blackburn for Philly. Well, that's the time when Philly won 21-21. Oakland, LA. LA crushes it 4-1. Sawchuk beats Hodge. Hicks 21st. Menard, Flat, Terrible Ted, and Low with the goals. Pittsburgh, Minnesota. 3-2 Minnesota. And Philly beats Boston 4-3. Rangers, we have to face Oakland, but we have to simulate. Rangers, Minnesota. Rangers win 3-1. Tape 1. Simmons beats Bauman. Ranger goals by Rattel, Nevin, and Cronenbach. Cronenbach. Ray Cullen, his 20 from Minnesota. Chicago, Montreal. Chicago crushes Montreal 5-2. DeJordy beats Vachon. Lemaire and Ferguson with the goals. Nesarenko, Warren, Makita, Hall, and Makita for Chicago. Makita with 2. LA, Pittsburgh. 6-5 Pittsburgh. Nice job. We lose to Oakland. Glenn Hall, what the hell? Berenson scored his 20th, but then Brenneman and Erickson scored. We were supposed to beat Oakland. And Toronto loses 5-4. Well, Normie Ullman scored. Yeah, that's when Frank Mahovlich came back to Toronto because of that trade. Detroit goes by Crashley, Prentice, Berkman, Delvecchio, and Prentice. Leafs go by Ullman, scoring against the former team. Walton, Conacher, and Paul Henderson scoring against the former team. So our game in Oakland we have to simulate. Boston beats Detroit 4-3. Chicago beats Toronto 4-3. LA and the Rangers tie. We lose to Oakland again. Seth Varney couldn't beat Charlie Hodge. Damn. Rivers his second, Dickie Moore his third, but we just can't score. Hampson, Cahan, Boyer, Odrowski. I think we're going to miss the playoffs. Philly beats Minnesota 3-2. 22, 22, and 21. They need a tie. Detroit, LA. Detroit with a shutout. Garner on Sawchuk. Young, Frank Mahovich. There you go. Bergman and Prentice with the goals. 4-19, 19-20. Sequential. Our next game is hosting Toronto. We have to simulate that. Chicago wins 5-3 over Pittsburgh. Minnesota beats Philly 4-2. Boston and Rangers tie 3-3. Detroit beats Oakland 3-1. Edwards beats Hodge. Delvecchio, Roberts, and McGregor for Detroit, whereas Billy Harris for Oakland. And for us against Toronto, 1-0. Yay, we win. Martin beats Bauer, Keenan from Roberts, and Hucko. There you go. So that's our 22nd win of the year. Rangers beat Montreal 2-1. Close one. Jackman beat Fashon. Larry Jeffrey scoring for the Rangers. Didn't know he played for the Rangers. Phil Goyette his 22nd. Dick Duff his 22nd for Montreal. And LA with a shutout on Philly. Sawchuk beat Perrant. Joel Gray and Low McDonald. We host Oakland. That's our next game. So complete the video. How many games have we played? We have played 65. We only have 9 games left. Okay, we have 9 games left. And we are out of the playoffs right now. Oh no. This will be hard to believe, but I think that we're going to miss the playoffs. We could miss the playoffs. Oh my gosh. Well, anything can happen in the NHL. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.